This is Appalling News, your most trusted source for fake real news. I'm Paul Chatto. In an unusual move, the royal family of Qatar is donating a jumbo jet for President Trump's exclusive use as a presidential plane. Or is the unusual move Donald Trump accepting a gift of a plane from Qatar? It's not every day that a terrorist-supporting nation-state sends a $400 million luxury Boeing 747 as part of a welcome-to-the-neighborhood gift basket while President Trump is visiting Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Qatar. It has been described as a flying palace that would replace the aging Air Force One. Of course, the big question is it legal? Trump, for his part, said, "I could be a stupid person and say, no, we don't want a free, very expensive airplane." Anticipating the questions, Defense Secretary Peter Hegseth concluded that it is legal for the Department of Defense to accept the aircraft as a gift and later turn it over to the Trump Library, and that it does not violate laws against bribery. Once it has been handed over to the Trump Library, will Americans be able to borrow it for the weekend? What's the fine for not bringing it back on time? Of course, the president can't use the plane until it has been completely checked for electronic bugs and modified to meet the transportation requirements of President Trump by upgrading all the faucets and toilets to gold. But this is not the first time United States presidents were offered lavish gifts. In 1862, Abraham Lincoln was offered a herd of elephants from the King of Siam, but they weren't house-trained. In 1880, Queen Victoria sent an intricately carved 1,300-pound wooden desk to President Rutherford Hayes that was constructed from the oak timbers of the HMS Resolute, an Arctic exploration vessel. Hayes was mad when he later found it available in the IKEA catalog. Richard Nixon accepted a gift of 2 giant pandas from China in 1972, which gave him comfort as Patricia Nixon had stopped talking to him by then. Whereas President George W. Bush only received a puppy from Bulgarian President Georgy Parvanov, which really pissed him off. Still, we do wonder why President Trump would take a gift from one of the primary funders of Hamas, as well as the Muslim Brotherhood, Al Jazeera, and the anti-Israel protests across the West. We understand there was a handwritten note left in the plane. Please don't bomb the shit out of us. Here we have 2 examples of attractive trans-identifying men who are wondering why non-trans men won't date them. In example 1, we are going for the non-flattering glasses. They are oversized and emphasize your nose too much. The lipstick color, however, is perfect. This individual is asking if there is one reason gents don't want to date them.
Apparently some guys aren't willing to date trans girls, but I just don't understand why. Can you even give me one good reason why someone wouldn't like trans girls?
The one reason kind of sticks out. But, as we say here at Appalling News, men make the best women. For any of you who are thoroughly confused about using proper pronouns for a non-binary person, here is an official British non-binary barrister giving advice on what to do if you misgender him.
So it depends at what point you realize you've misgendered a person. If someone who I've known, I don't know, a family member, says he, and then immediately realizes, for me, what I would recommend is that they would say he, oh, sorry, they, and then move on. And so just like continue and then just try and remember that it's they rather than he. If you then remember, like retrospectively, I suppose, ultimately it's up to you, but I would probably appreciate if someone just in a very understated way said, oh, sorry, I think I said he earlier, obviously meant they. and that's where you leave it. But like, you don't want to make a big song and dance about it, because ultimately that could cause like me embarrassment, and I wouldn't necessarily appreciate that. So it's all about correcting the mistake in a very simple but quick way. They, it's literally as simple as that. And if you remember later, then obviously, well, I guess it depends how much later it is. If it was the same day, maybe I'll appreciate it but then if you're doing it right at that time, probably they is better, because otherwise people will hear he, for me at least, and then they'll do it wrong. So yeah, I think that's probably the most sensible way to do it.
Yes, this was entirely clear. We recommend that you do not hire this barrister to get your dog out of a shelter. And finally, let's leave you with Netflix's chief happiness officer at the SAG Awards, Dylan Mulvaney, who single-handedly took down Bud Light. Looks like he's miming a bit of polishing himself. This is Appalling News, and that's the way it is.